Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Iowa soccer supporters. I'm Ben Brackett, your Soccer Talk co-host, alongside my good buddy Blake Sievers. Sievers, what's up?
We're back. I love it.
Took a little summer break. You spent a lot of time at the Iowa State Fair with the swine.
Yeah, fair's always a good time. And now we're back into fall soccer.
Yeah, we were talking about it a couple weeks ago and just thinking about what it was like, maybe 15, 20 years ago, what we were doing about this time. It was like getting ready for preseason, and we were talking about how brutal that was. And that's a great segue for our guest today, Pat Flinn, the Drake Bulldogs men's coach. Pat, we're super happy to have you. How are you today?
Good. How we doing, boys?
Better now that you're here.
Nice. Yep. I was at the fair on Sunday.
Did you? Yeah.
Yep.
Enjoy it?
We were just mentioning I'm turning 40 on Saturday. So, yeah, just what I recall from preseason would be like binge watching the television series 24. Do you remember that one?
Of course.
Yeah. So that's a long time ago.
It's a great show. For you young ones, check that one out.
What did we do at the fair Sunday?
Well, I got back from Madison. So I felt like kind of a power dad move to not try and dodge going to the fair with my two kids. So I jumped right in the car. We went to the fair. My kids are now 6 and 8. I feel like the fair is like a good barometer for how your children are aging because they have a totally different set of interests year to year. They're both like in prime. All they want to do is ride those stupid rides, and it was like 105 degrees, and that's part of the fair is on blacktop. So we would do that for like a half hour. We'd go do something they didn't want to do. Then we went back to the rides, and we just kind of did that for 5 hours.
Here's your fair tip. Buy them the unlimited ride pass.
That wasn't available on Sunday.
Ahead of time because you can't buy it on site, and it saves you loads of dollars.
I know.
Good
Unfortunately,
Christmas
as
present
a
next year.
college soccer coach, when you go to the fair is always just based around when your off day in preseason is, and the unlimited pass is not. It doesn't work on the weekends.
Sounds like they need a Drake soccer outing at the fair next year.
There you go.
That'd be amazing. Yeah.
That could get all sorts of interesting. So preseason has been in full force. I think that's funny that you remember watching 24. I just remember being so tired all the time. Well, how's it been going so far? You guys played Creighton, Northeast Community College, and Wisconsin. Not all the way. You played Northeast Community College here in town. Mm-hmm. Why don't you just kind of talk us through a little bit of how preseason's been, as well as how the games have been?
Yep. Preseason's great. I love it. It's more fun maybe as a coach than a player because you just get to focus on the exciting stuff, the preparation. You're not getting run into the ground. So we've been at it for 2 weeks. A lot more positives than negatives. Really, the only negative is that our captain, Ryder Barrett, had a pretty brutal ankle injury, so he's probably out for who knows, But at a minimum, we're going to have to start the season without him. And we happen to only have one other injury on the team, Austin Holtebeck. So it's kind of our 2 returning center backs that played every minute together last year. But the glass half full version of that would be that in those preseason matches, a lot of young defenders probably played more than they would have without those injuries.
It's a great time to get some experience.
Yeah, and the only experience that really translate is playing in games, So, there's so many different ways you can go with the preseason games. It's such a short preseason. There's some programs that play 1 game or play 2 games. You're allowed to play up to 3. We played all 3. We take a very different approach with all 3. Creighton's 4 days into preseason, so it's a quality opponent on the road. So it naturally is a game that our guys are up for, but it's so early in the preseason, we hardly treat it like the result matters at all. And that was kind of everybody plays, assess personnel. Then we played Northeast. We broke it up into 330s. So it was kind of, your supposed starting group, then a bit of a hybrid group, and then a group of, younger guys or guys that we don't anticipate necessarily playing in our first games of the season. So that's always positive just from, guys kind of making moves within the team type of opportunity. And then at Wisconsin, I thought it was a ideal culmination to preseason matches. It's a team that we've kind of become familiar with because we've either played them preseason, regular season, or spring every year since I've been here. Obviously, they're a Big Ten opponent. We're on the road. We treated it generally like a real game. I think only 2 guys played 90 minutes, so it wasn't all about the result, but in terms of our approach to it, the intensity of the game, the way both teams approached the game, it just felt like as close to a real game as you could get in a preseason game.
Result?
We lost 1-0. But I thought we played great. Yeah, I mean, every losing soccer coach says that they could have or should have won the game. But in terms of, quantifiable metrics from the game, like we kind of dictated the game in terms of territory, shots, corners, all that type of stuff. I use that as a little bit of yes, I used the phrase barometer already. So I'll say that again, just because we have played them either once or twice every year that I've been at Drake. And it's been fun to see the kind of like natural gap that you may see between a Big Ten program and a mid-major program, like shrink to the point where I think it's kind of disappeared. So I think the group left that game. That was the first time I've felt like in preseason that this can be a team that builds on last season and takes another step forward, which is everybody's goal, but you got to put in the work.
What's the preseason look like? 2-a-days? I'm curious how you guys do it specifically. Fitness, meals, campus isn't open yet. Where are guys staying? Just a quick kind of rundown of what you guys are up to when they move in on. It's earlier and earlier every year, it seems like.
Yeah, their first day of school is next Monday. I think one of the biggest parts of preseason is just the camaraderie. I mean, at Drake, all the student athletes that are here early are all housed in the same dorm building. So everybody's kind of together.
Even if they're living off campus?
No, excuse me. All the on-campus, so first and second year guys. And then our older guys are all kind of in their houses and stuff. So, from just a culture building perspective, I think preseason's great. My approach to preseason, we do train twice a day. Generally, our competitive or more intense session is in the morning, usually 7:30 to 9:15, 8 to 9:30. So wake up, go get after it in the morning. Then the guys have, the day to recover, treatment, cold baths. And then we'll train again in the afternoon. In the afternoon, it's always, it's still important, but it's non-competitive from a perspective of like we're not playing against each other. It's more functional, positional groups, pattern work, set piece stuff. As we've gotten into the actual match play, the afternoon might be the time where guys that are accumulating minutes are, doing something different, guys that are still fighting for their position or playing competitively. So that's generally the day. Wake up, train, recover, grab lunch, take a nap, come back, train for an hour, and then we cap the day off with like an hour of film.
Fitness. What is the fitness test? Is there one anymore? That's a big. Have you guys seen that? I didn't realize it's a big new thing.
Oh,
that
yeah.
People are debating all this stuff. So I'm
Okay.
curious. Do you see that, Ben?
I didn't
Have
see
you
the
heard
debate.
it?
I feel strongly one way or the other, so
I'm curious to hear your perspective, but I think one of my pet peeves is that when people try and take things and make it black and white, and so I think there's now like 2 ends of the spectrum. The old school approach where it was probably too much running, no real consideration for recovery, just pound, 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 go, go, go. Then the new age philosophy is this like any version of fitness is irrelevant or non-functional. And we fall somewhere in between. The reality is like we play a lot against the ball. A big part of our identity is feeling like we can still control opponents when they have the ball, and you can't do that if the players aren't fit, if they're not bought into running. So I think fitness and a high standard for fitness and a high capacity and willingness to run is a huge part of our team's identity. But as the team's evolved over the last 4 years, like what they're up to in the summer has changed dramatically. So my first summer at Drake, like I started in the spring, and then we had the summer prior to my first fall. We had one player on the roster that was starting consistently in USL 2 games. Declan Waters was our captain at the time. Obviously, some other guys were playing at different levels. But this year was my 4th summer. I think we had 18 players that were either starting game in and game out or had some version of a starting role for a USL2 team. A lot of those, I think we had 5 guys make it to the last weekend of USL2, or excuse me, the semifinal, quarterfinal, semifinal weekend. So they were basically playing all the way up until the weekend before they arrived. We had one guy play on the team that won it. So I try and take that into account. I feel like these guys are played in. They're doing what we want them to do during the summer, which is growing as players. So the last thing I want to do is pretend like the summer didn't exist and they get back and we have to just run them to get them ready. But to circle back to your actual question, we use 2 fitness tests. One's the Bronco test. I like it because it's easy to set up.
What's that one?
It's a Denver football team.
No, I don't know where the name came from. It's easy to set up. It's easy to time. It doesn't destroy their bodies. So I like that one because I think it's something that we can kind of like do in the season. And ultimately it's 20 meters back, 40 meters back, 60 meters back, and you have to repeat that 5 times. So like a great score is 4:30 or less.
4 minutes, 30 seconds.
Yes. Goalkeepers are the only guys that are going to finish above 5 minutes. So we did that a couple times, like during Captain's Week, kind of like self-organized, run by them.
I assume you're tracking scores or they're tracking.
Yeah, and then we
your
just
score,
kind of, it's an easy one that you can you just have a spreadsheet, and every time we run it, whether it's preseason, midseason in the fall, after the season, start of the spring, we'll just kind of accumulate these guys' scores.
So you're doing that mid-season as well.
Yeah, it's less
something
than 5
like
minutes.
that. It's a 5-minute run.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
If you can make it in just 5 minutes.
It's not like an enjoyable 5 minutes.
But it's still a barometer, and it's only 5 minutes. So you're able to say like if you were able to do it in 4:45, and then come back next preseason, you run it in 5:10. Like we know you haven't been doing anything.
Or if we do it mid-season, and everybody that hasn't been accumulating minutes is significantly weaker than the group that's playing all the time, like it gives us some feedback on like we got to do a better job of keeping those guys sharp and fit during the season. I'm envious of programs that have all the heart rate monitors, all that stuff. No. You know, we're pretty much like old school in that way. But it still just gives us like a quantifiable, trackable metric. And then our strength and conditioning staff, which is executed the our fitness test, which is the yo-yo, very similar to the beep test. You just start from a standstill as opposed to constantly running. And the scores were solid. They're in line with what they've been the last couple years.
Are you setting hey, Blake, you have to get this score because that's where we expect you to be, or is it like everybody has to achieve a certain level?
There's kind of like a standard that I think all field players should be at and beyond. I just don't get obsessive over it, because you can, like our strength and conditioning staff, they're probably like harder in terms of like you can't start early, that type of thing. So there's always a little bit of variability in terms of how it was measured, who executed the test. Like last year, for example, Jackson Kirsch ran to the ran to the end of the test. This year he still did very well, but he was like one level short. But he also started and played 15 90-minute games during the summer, so I just don't get hung up on something like that.
Yeah, I would guess his fitness is not in question.
No, that's not.
What was the Duquesne fitness test?
Just good old-fashioned 2 mile down by the river. Try and do it as
Down
fast
by the
as you
river.
can.
Is there any weights, any strength testing?
Not necessarily testing. He may be doing some of his own baseline stuff, but there's not anything where I say, like, we want you to hit this particular number. I think that's probably evolved. I don't remember a lot of strength and conditioning being integrated in, like, a beneficial way back when we were playing. That was more of like a spring, off-season, maybe if you weren't playing during the season. We try and stay consistent with it during the season, and there's just kind of 3 buckets for our team. Guys that are playing a ton of minutes, hybrid players whose minutes kind of vary game to game, and players that are not really playing a lot of minutes. And within the strength and conditioning program, they all kind of have different objectives and different goals. But we lift once a week during the season, 2 days prior to the game.
So you have 18 guys, you said, that played meaningful minutes all summer at USL2 level, which is legit. Sounds like you would have like probably 20 starters on the team then, right? I mean, that sounds like you've got maybe some competition for places if people are all, like,
I mean, it's
people are
definitely
all
the
playing.
deepest team that I've coached at Drake, but you still can only play 11 players at a time. So I've gone through this in the past where you get very excited in the off season. Look how many good players we have, but ultimately you still have to raise the ceiling for how the team's performing, which ultimately comes down to the group that's on the field, so your core group. So I think ultimately the best byproduct of having real depth is to just the lack of complacency, guys constantly having to perform to retain their role. And I think for us within games, and certainly as the season wears on, last year I remember at times, kind of be like 60 minutes into a game, the team's running in as honest or admirable way as they possibly can, and you just kind of keep telling them to go, knowing that it's not realistic, and we just were kind of limited in terms of like different types of looks we could give the opponent. Certain players really couldn't be rested while the outcome was still in doubt. Whereas this year, I feel like we can be proactive. Someone like Preston can actually come off the field and, which then with the new more restrictive subbing rules should allow him to like be able to finish games stronger than he did last year. So yeah, we do have a deeper group, but a lot of our talent that I'm excited about are still like incoming freshmen.
Well, let's segue to that. We're excited too because it's a lot of Iowa guys coming in, but then also just in the squad overall. I think we said 9 in total. Mm-hmm. How many freshmen?
4 true Iowa freshmen.
And then how big is your freshman class overall?
9 freshmen, and then we had 1 incoming transfer.
So
it's a big class.
Yeah.
Or is that?
No, that's a big class. You're cracking the whip at the people there, aren't you? A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, but if you were to just go around and look at like websites or whatever, classes are generally bigger now for a variety of reasons. Just the ability for players to transfer after a successful season, transfer if they're not happy. So you'll see a lot of Wisconsin, I think, had 18 new players.
Wow.
So I think 10 is kind of, if 8 used to be your standard class, 10 is now kind of like generally the number you need to replace the outgoing graduates plus 2 or 3 guys that have moved on for whatever reason via transfer.
So you want to shout out some of the guys you're excited about?
You can say no if you don't want to.
No, of course. I mean, I love the team, so let's talk about them.
Yeah.
Are you referring to new guys or returning guys?
Well, let's just kind of like talk about the team in general.
Start in the back.
Yeah, let's just talk through the team, and then you can talk about if there's people that you think are new that are going to compete.
Yep. If we start from the back.
So you got the Australian
returning goalkeeper Thomas.
Fan favorite.
Yeah.
You remember that game we went to?
Just his gamesmanship, his personality, his ability to distribute, being unfazed by big moments. That's why we love Thomas. Saturday would be a good example. We're at Wisconsin. You're kind of the mid-major. You're showing up. First time he caught the ball, he's being stalked by this player like 2 yards outside of the box. Thomas just like refused to kick the ball and like just put the burden on the referee. The other staff's yelling at him. Their bench is yelling at him. The player's yelling at him. I don't even know what the rule is because I think the guy's outside of the box. I think it's probably on Thomas to move and try and punt it. But eventually the ref blows the whistle, and I'm thinking they're getting an indirect free kick, and he just spins the ball out and just made the call, basically, and then pinged like a great ball. And I just thought it was like an amazing way to set the tone for a traveling mid-major team at a
we're
Big
not here to
Ten.
mess around.
Yeah. So Thomas is back. We have experience, depth, Quinn, Carson. So that's the goalkeeper group. I'd say the part of the field in terms of field players and guys that are starters or, kind of the core group this year, the back of the team will look more different than other parts of the field because our graduates that really played big minutes last year would have been Kai, who was like an out-and-out 6 holding midfielder, Eric Leggett, who was versatile, but he was utilized in the back last year, either as an outside back or a center back in a back 3. Elo played a lot of wing back when we were in a back 3. And currently with the injuries, Ryder and Austin being out, Cole Schrage is kind of like the one returning starting player at the back. Sam DeLong is probably the returning player that will have the biggest bump in role. He's last year as a freshman. I think he played in all of our games, but he only started once or twice. He kind of came on to help close out games or be like we'd put him up front as a target because he's good in the air. This year, started in the spring. He kind of transitioned into being a starting center back. We anticipate him playing a ton as a center back this year. Noah Corrigan will have an increased role. So he's a redshirt junior. He's a senior in school. He's been with us. He was part of my first recruiting class at Drake. He's probably the strongest player on the team that hasn't played a lot of minutes. And it's just a byproduct of what position he plays. He's a center back, combination of, just experienced guys that he narrowly was behind or untimely injuries, but he's played a ton in spring games, preseason games. He's always done a good job, so I'm excited about him having an opportunity to play a lot.
Are those 2 years? What are we doing? Back 3 or back
those are
4?
It varies, I bet.
You'll see on Thursday night.
Oh, I love it.
But
Sorry.
historically, we've utilized both.
Okay. Sorry, keep going.
Center back we're excited about is Ryder's younger brother, Charlie Flinn. We call him Chuck. He's the only way you know him and Ryder are brothers is that they have the same last name. Ryder's I wouldn't call him undersized, but he's not a big center back. He's 6 foot, moves really well, tracks people, good 1v1 defender. Chuck is more of a traditional 6'3", ball-playing center back, but he's probably exceeded our expectation in terms of how ready he looks to play. But he's got a legit ceiling whether he breaks through this year or he's kind of a center back of the future. He's 2-footed, he's tough, he's good in the air. So yeah, we're excited about him. I think that kind of covers at the back. Chase Wakefield played a bunch of different roles for us last year. In the spring, he transitioned more into a wing-back, outside-back role, and that, along with Leggett's graduation, JP's injury in the spring, we anticipate Chase to play a lot in a totally different part of the field than he played last year for us. Jack Dancer's a freshman from Iowa City that's ready to roll. He started at Creighton, did a great job. So that's the back. Kai, captain last year, played as our 6. We felt like we kind of had a natural replacement in midfield because Jackson Kirsch is a traditional central midfielder, and he was played in different roles, outside midfield, as a 10, not because those are his most natural positions, but he probably just has more versatility than Kai and Eskil. So when Kai graduated, it created an opening. So now our kind of core midfield pair is Eskil and Jackson, who we feel very good about.
As you should.
Yep. Barrett Kitts kind of came on second half of last year. Him and Sam DeLong would be returning players that I think are capable of making the biggest jump from either kind of a squad guy or a role player, if that's what Kitts was last year, to somebody that can really have an authentic impact as a starting player. Damien's back from his ACL, so
How's he looking?
He looks great, man. Yeah, he's awesome. He's training extremely hard. He's getting fitter by the day. He was fantastic for the last 30 minutes at Wisconsin. He turned, planted his foot, crushed a guy with a tackle, and so it was just kind of an awesome moment for the team to see it, and it just was just a clear indicator that he's confident in where his body's at. Kind of outside wide type players. We probably have more wingback profiles than traditional wingers. So guys that we feel great about in those positions. I already mentioned Chase. Cole Schrage will probably shift into a more outside back type role when the other center backs come back. Some freshmen will feature in those positions. Elijah Fearing, very athletic, tough, honest, good wide player from Minneapolis. And then another guy that we're very excited about, local guy, Jonathan Mendez.
I was going to say, where's old Johnny going to play?
He's such a soccer player. He's probably more well-rounded than I gave him credit for, seeing him as a high school club player. I knew he was like fantastic in the final third. He could finish. He could play a final pass. But he has like immediately adapted to transitioning at the pace that's required. He will track players. He can close players down. He can press players. So we'd love to see him evolve and develop into just a very well-rounded two-way midfielder, Damien-esque in that way. And then up front, obviously Preston is a huge part of the team.
Had a great summer.
Awesome summer. Just a great kid. I just ran into a recruit the women's team had on campus. She goes to Valley High School. We're talking about Preston. I kind of joke that he's a little bit of a late bloomer, even though he was like 6'5" as a sophomore in high school. So physically, he was not a late bloomer, but his maturity is like night and day from where it was as a junior in high school, and he just seems to maybe like through his experience as a freshman carry over into the summer. I think he's starting to realize like he's really capable of reaching some ambitious goals, and it's just going to come down to how disciplined he is away from the field, how hard he works at training. Can he continue to evolve as a finisher and add layers to his game? But he's awesome. We're so lucky that he was born in West Des Moines, you know. And then it's exciting. This year we have a freshman. His name's Crew Alvarez. He's very good. He played a lot of USL2 this summer as a high school graduate.
You liked him.
I've always liked him.
I know. I just don't know. Like,
he's AJ
you liked him for a while.
Franklin-esque, though. If Preston is a traditional back-to-goal, play into me in the air, Crew can do that because he is big and tall and he's tough and he's strong. But he's a little bit more AJ profile in that he can dribble, he can create his own chance. But a challenge to our team last year was Preston is such a natural focal point when he's on the field that whoever comes on for him, the team has to almost adapt, and you can't utilize him in the same way as an outlet and play direct into him, and it changes your set piece structures. And so having somebody like Crew that's as like for like as you can get for Preston, I think allows the team to not have to adapt its tactics, its shape, its set piece ideas whenever Preston's not in the game.
Have you played those two just in training together?
Because
those are just
more and more now.
Monsters.
Yeah.
Up top.
Seriously, if I can't imagine being a center back pairing and looking over and just going, Jesus Lord,
like we ran in Western Michigan, kind of had that too. My second year at Drake, they had an awesome team. They lost in the Sweet 16 where they kind of outplayed Notre Dame, and they just had two monsters up front that scored, I think, like a combined 35 goals or something like that. And it helps you in all facets of the game. If you're playing from deep, it gives you an outlet. It helps you on all set pieces. If you're struggling to break down a team, I mean, just having people that can impact on service in the box and stuff. So, yeah, we feel super fortunate to have one, let alone two forwards with those attributes.
how are some of our other Iowa boys doing? Landon Benj, it sounded like
Landon
was having
Bench
a
doing
good,
awesome. Scored 2 goals at Creighton, first preseason.
awesome.
He subbed into the game in the 30th minute. We were down 2-0. We had these just disastrous mistakes from kind of our core group, and we were all kind of annoyed, and then brought on a bunch of young players. Our first goal, they played direct. Jack Dancer headed it. Jonathan Mendez kind of had a nice turn off his chest to face forward, played into Dalton, who played back to Mendez, who played to Elijah, who slipped Landon, and we scored. So it was freshman, junior, freshman for a goal at Creighton. So it was pretty cool. But he's been great. I mean, he's so fast. He's so honest. He's so hardworking. His willingness to utilize all of his natural physical attributes against the ball and in pressure and in transition are why he can like immediately fit in with our team.
Well, it's interesting just looking at your entire roster. There's only, maybe a handful tops of players that aren't coming from the Midwest, through Iowa, Kansas, Minnesota, Wisconsin.
You want specific stats? Because I know them.
Oh, if you do, great. I was just going to say, I think
teed them up, Ben.
you're
Good job.
welcome, Patty.
Bracket.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and
Blow my
I say
mind.
that like jokingly because ultimately our goal is to put the best team on the field, so you don't get any morality bonus points by recruiting locally. But we organically believe that's the best way for us to build our team. It's a small private school, academics matter. So relying exclusively on the international market to me makes no sense. And likewise, the transfer portal has become so overly relevant, not just in college soccer, but in all college sports. It's like an oversaturated market for recruiting, in my opinion. And
How many portal guys do you have coming in?
we have two transfers on our whole team, which is, I don't know, unique in the current landscape.
I think that says a lot, though.
Yeah. Yeah,
In
and
a
we've
good way,
retained
like a positive
players.
thing.
Yeah, because you don't need to bring anybody in if you're retaining most
I
of them.
think if our goal is to punch above our weight and to go to places like Wisconsin and Creighton and not just do it for the experience or try and survive and have to completely adapt our identity to play that. If we're going to go there and play our game and find success, and we're getting closer and closer to that, I think we have to utilize continuity and culture as a competitive attribute. Because the pressure at those places can be so high to bring in experienced players that are ready to go. I think it almost gives us a little carve out to be more patient with players. And as other programs have kind of leaned into those markets for recruiting, international transfer, junior college, I feel like the traditional domestic graduating high school player is more under-recruited than they ever have been. So, yeah, back to we have 30 guys on the roster this year. 24 of them are from the Midwest. We have 3 internationals, and we have 3 kind of random Americans. Damien's from Atlanta, Quinn's from Washington State, and Robbie Wood is from Houston, Texas.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I would imagine it helps guys when they are relocating to Des Moines, when you've got people from Iowa. There's just sort of that, like you said, that continuity. Just people know what's going on here in Des Moines. They can show people around.
Helps with future recruiting.
Yep.
For our next class, there's 2 Iowa guys, Kale Leach, Kale Orban.
Love the drags.
What's that?
Kale Leach,
He's
Dragon.
a dragon.
Oh, nice. Sorry, excuse me.
Come on, get with it.
But we are getting to the point where there's guys that in 8th, 9th, 10th grade, they've come and watched guys that are local, and they're not just playing, but they're having some success. The team's having success. So it should help in terms of future recruitment. But I think the most important part of that, our roster makeup, is the ability to retain good players. We had 6 all-conference guys last year, and they're all back. And if you look across the landscape, you could use college basketball because everybody's more familiar with it. But certainly in college soccer, typically mid-major all-conference players are really hard to retain. So I would credit our team and the locker room and our culture and the fact that these are guys that are kind of a natural fit for Drake in terms of their proximity and growing up and being aware of the university. And so I think it just they're less antsy to look for greener pastures.
And I think it's cool. You got a couple assistants, local assistants.
Yeah,
You got Cole Poppin, who played at Drake, Leroy and Zaguzzi played at Drake, but also Iowa guys. So I think I don't know. I just think it's a testament to what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
How are those boys doing, by the way?
They're
keeping
great.
up?
They're good. Kyle and I are getting old, so it's really important to have guys that are a little bit more connected to their playing experience, guys that are more just kind of from the same generation.
They can relate a little bit better.
For sure.
Can't they?
And beyond just being alums and good players, they're both really passionate, eager coaches that are kind of carving out their own careers as coaches in Des Moines. Cole kind of more on the traditional club side. Leroy is heavily involved in Techers. Leroy was on the winning team at TST. So, and they have great personalities that just add to the group. So, yeah.
So one thing I think maybe we buried the lead a little bit. You guys were predicted as the #1 finisher for the Missouri Valley. That's a big deal, a little target on your back to just go along with the pressure of actually like wanting to win it, because you guys haven't done that yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So talk about the expectation and just like, what does that send a little buzz through the team, I assume?
Yeah, like we had a meeting yesterday. I do the Drake Soccer Instagram, so I see like what all these yo-yos are sharing and sending and posting, and so I set it up. My wife went to Alabama. Nick Saban, outside of soccer coaches, is like a coach that I became like obsessively followed and was a huge fan of his. So he's got this great video. I don't know if they lost, or I think they had a narrow win during their like golden era where they'd win every game by 50 points. And the post-game questions are kind of like nitpicking why they barely won or something like that. And eventually he kind of has this like, I don't know, maybe it's less well-known, this quote in Des Moines, Iowa than it was in Birmingham, Alabama, where I lived at one point. But he's talking, he's like, I'm trying to get the team to listen to me. He's like, everything you guys are saying about how good they are, it's like poison. It's rat poison. So, yeah, we showed the rat poison video yesterday. Every year I vote us to finish last in the preseason poll because I find no value in not expectation. Like, we have our own expectations. That's the most important, regardless of what. If we were picked to finish last and we finished last, we'd still feel really disappointed, even though everybody else thought that's where we were going to finish. But it's kind of fun when you get, like last year, we were picked to finish second to last. You can kind of fire the team up about it. They don't know that you actually voted them last yourself. So it's unique. And I don't mind that we were picked first, because the reality is the team was pretty strong last year. We do have a lot of carryover from that group. So there was no way, regardless of where we were picked, that we were going to be overlooked or not respected. So the fact that they actually were picked first, we can kind of spin that and say, like, all right, boys, like it is a totally different experience when teams are up for playing you.
What makes for a successful Drake soccer season?
I mean, the cliche but real response is like, we are very process oriented. Like, ultimately, we're just trying to maximize the potential of the group from a more specific outcome oriented. What the guys are desperate to do is to build on last year. And last year was positive, not just because we had some success, but it felt like kind of the culmination of 3 years of work, building the roster, building our identity, and then seeing it have success, I think was really important to everybody, myself included. But we still kind of we were mad at the end of the year. We went into our last regular season game of the year at home. If we beat Missouri State, we were going to win Drake's first regular season MVC, and we lost 1-0. Then we went to the conference tournament. We were really bummed to lose in the semifinal. So we narrowly missed out on either winning the league, winning the conference tournament, and getting into the NCAA tournament. And then I think our RPI was like 45, and you kind of need to be 40 or lower to get in. And so I think it sets up that we almost have these unspoken, like, we want to win the league, we want to play in the NCAA tournament, and I think anything short of that would ultimately feel like a disappointment.
I like the schedule.
I was going to say, it looks like kind of a tough schedule.
Yeah.
Starting with a big road trip.
There's only two ways you can get into the NCAA tournament. You can have an RPI high enough to be selected, or you can win your conference tournament. So my perspective on that is you can kind of either schedule to get wins, or you can schedule to accomplish one of those two goals. And if you schedule really challenging and you go 3-5, you're not going to make it with your RPI, but you're not going to make it with a weak schedule anyways.
But maybe you learn something, hopefully.
And you grow, and then you reset, and you still have the ability to win your league and make it into the tournament. Or like last year, you have enough success in the non-conference. Some of those teams do. UMKC ended up in the top 20, and you beat them. It does, like, we were in position, had one of those two final results gone our way, that we might have snuck in as an at-large. So I've always just tried to schedule in a way that every game's a challenge. We're trying to get better every game. And I certainly, in this current version of college athletics, like, I don't want players to feel like they're getting a watered down mid-major experience, and I think the competitive experience is by far and away the most important part of your student athlete experience. And so we want to go and play real opponents, good teams, and see where we're really at.
I think I'm looking at it, Ben, a little bit like that Marquette game on a Thursday night. Like, that'll be rowdy. A tough place to play.
It'll be, yeah, and we're in Texas we leave tomorrow. Then we get back Monday, late, do whatever at training on Tuesday, train Wednesday, and then you're back at Marquette, so that is college soccer, though. So rather than try to protect them constantly, we feel like exposing them to the adversity that will inevitably be there for them is good to do early in the season.
Missouri State is ranked. UMKC is ranked. Is that right? Or around the?
I mean, they're always rollover rankings, I'd call them. But Missouri State, I think
it looks good though on paper. Like, all right, there's some
Missouri
good
State's
games.
legit. Like, I think they have the highest win percentage in college soccer over the last 8 years or something. So they're not in our league anymore, but we chose to play them as a non-conference opponent. We always play UMKC. We have 7 guys from Kansas City on our team, so it's a natural rivalry, and we've both kind of improved a lot over the last few years. So it's a great game for us to play. Omaha is similar, like a regional team that's always in the top 75, 50 teams in the country. Who else we got? We're going back to Tulsa.
You taking the boys out for pizza at your spot when you go to UIC?
No, because it takes a week to recover.
From that pizza?
Yeah.
That's so good, though.
Yeah. Last year we did kind of a fun Chicago trip. We were Northwestern, 2 days in between, and then DePaul. So we kind of got to do some fun Chicago stuff then. We'll go to the Riverwalk, San Antonio.
Nice. Those are all. What are you guys going to do down in Texas? Do you drive from Houston to San Antonio?
Yeah. So we fly to Houston. We have Wednesday, the day before the game. We'll train in the evening. Then we have Thursday, match day, get ready, play a game at Houston Christian. We'll stay in Houston Thursday evening. Friday, we'll make a 3-hour drive over to San Antonio. Friday is kind of like your fun day where you can do the Riverwalk and not be stressed about playing the next day. Saturday is the day before the game. Get ready for the game in San Antonio. Train at Incarnate Word. Play Sunday evening. Monday we drive back to Houston to fly back.
How much scouting are we doing, especially for these early
First
games?
game of the year is always
Talk about
unique
it.
to the rest of them.
How you do it?
You just got to be like an internet sleuth. That's really it. And there's no game films. So you're just kind of trying to piece together returning players, the system of play that they used down the stretch last year, knowing the individuals within the team. We did play them last year at home, so it's not like a totally blind opponent. But relative to every other game on the schedule, there is much more of an unknown component going into the first game of the year.
What do you think, Siebes? What's your prediction for the season?
I love predictions.
I know you do.
I mean, I think gotta win the league, get the number 1 seed, and you win the conference tournament at MediaCom.
The double, that'd be amazing. Yeah.
I think no matter what, you guys find a way to get in the NCAA tournament. That's going to be I think that's you could care less about any of the other stuff if you get a chance to play in the tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got an at-large bid.
Of course, you'd be mad if you lost.
Yeah, but if you got an at-large bid.
But the year before I went to Loyola, I think they had such a great season. They were locked into the tournament, going into the MVC tournament. If you're a mid-major that makes the NCAA tournament, you're pretty happy with your season.
I think having that experience for the guys on the team, that's what they'll remember the most.
We've got some great seniors. It's the first group of guys I brought in personally, or just from the full circle of look where we were.
Is this year 4?
This is year 4. So Ryder, Eskil, Damian, Noah, they've been here since the start.
It's all impactful players, which is what
Big
you want.
time. We didn't talk about Eskil. Eskil's the man.
We know.
Last year to come watch him play.
All right, so here's the question. So he was midfielder of the year in the conference last year. Now he's on the defender watch list. I love the old silliness of
I think that's just he was a center back in Norway when we recruited him. Our plan was always to try to turn him into a like a midfielder. It's what he wanted to do. So I think he's on that list just because maybe somewhere on a roster he's listed as a defender.
I like it, though, but good to give him a little notoriety.
Yeah. He's someone that deserves it. He's a huge part of what we do. He's been really loyal. I mean, I think it speaks highly about him as a
4 years here.
person and his connection to his teammates. And the guy could have left after his junior year, after his sophomore year. He could have gone kind of anywhere he wanted. He went to Vermont, was a part of that awesome Vermont Green team this summer. And he was by far and away the best player on the field against Wisconsin on Saturday.
Love that. Sounds like we're in for a treat here in Des Moines, hopefully. I'm excited to follow you guys all year, and I give you a hard time a lot, but I love what you're doing with the team.
First home game Sunday night. Like, there's no soccer. There's no youth soccer. Like, it's against Graceland. We should try to
Come on out.
get that filled.
We got to do a kick it forward night.
That might be the night.
We travel a lot early in the season, but then we actually kind of hit this nice groove where we play a bunch of Saturday night home games.
Yep.
So in a dream scenario, the team takes care of business in the early part of the season, and as we get to that stretch where we're at home, it's kind of like an exciting group that people want to come out and support.
Love that. Well, best of luck. We'll be rooting for you. Siebes?
Thanks, Pat.
No, likewise. I really appreciate the support you guys have given me and the program. And yeah, I think a part of the team's identity and culture is to try and make the local soccer community proud of what we're up to. So appreciate all your support.
So far, so good.